Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering a movie no one expected to come out, Top Cat the movie! Wild!
Top Cat, or El Gato, and his alley cat friends are placed in modern times, but they're still the same con artists as they pull schemes on citizens.
Somehow.
Yes. Now when the city's new mayor, who's a jerk, releases cameras, robot cops, and all sorts of technology to take over the city, it's up to Top Cat and his friends, Los Amigos, to save the day.
No, tip-top, Top Cat. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and more to pause videos.
Yes. Now this animated series originally came out, if I'm not mistaken, in the early 60s. Is that correct?
60s or 70s.
No, it was nowhere near the 70s.
Oh.
It was either late 50s or early 60s.
Okay.
And they actually had reruns of this series all the way through, I think, the late 80s. I watched a couple episodes. It just wasn't for me. I just couldn't get into it. Our Nana, however, absolutely loved the series and talked about how she loved it and was great. But me, I just couldn't get into it. So I've never seen the series beyond watching 2 episodes that were rerunning on TV.
Right.
So it was a surprise when Rascal said, I think I'd like to see how that movie is one day. And fortunately for me, they had it at Dollar Tree for $1.
Right.
And I'm like, hey. So we watched it.
Yes, and it was interesting.
And one thing we did learn from a reviewer on YouTube.
Yeah, his name's Rebel Text.
Thank you, Rebel Text. Oh, your inspiration, or one of our inspirations, is that this particular series is huge, I should say, in Mexico.
Yes.
And that this movie, when you see the credits, you see that it was pretty much just a Mexican production.
Right.
And that it's well loved.
Yes. And it was so well loved they decided to do their own movie for Top Cat after all these years. I guess since America hadn't done one, even though this was before.
They were never going to
do it. This is like before they announced the Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe. So I guess they tried their hand at bringing back Top Cat. The only thing they had done since then was Yogi Bear in live action. That was a mess. So we have the Top Cat movie. And it did way better in Mexico than it did here. It made a whole lot of money more there than here. Mm-hmm. And it seems like for here, the idea is that Top Cat and his friends are in a time warp. Even though they're not in the 60s anymore, they still have that one alleyway they haven't torn down.
Late 50s or early 60s.
They still.
If you guys know, let us know in the comments below. We should have checked that out before talking to you.
Oh well. They still have this one alley that just exists here, and it's like in the corner of a freeway or a street. Mm-hmm. And they still try to pull their scams and everything. They don't change their clothes or anything. They've never changed.
And it's gated. It's like this little strip of, like you said, alleyway, and it's gated, and everything else around it is tall buildings and skyscrapers and modern.
Right. It's like, well, how come you didn't change that one thing? Did the officer demand that you not change their home or what? Because that would be something you fight for. But no, they actually didn't go that route this movie. They went for something else entirely. Now here they kind of did have something interesting, them adapting to all the technology and stuff like Rocko's Modern Life did. But they really didn't do that. Top Cat adapted pretty well to it, easily outsmarted the cameras and the robots and everything. So this wasn't even really a challenge for him. He just instantly got past it and was still pulling off the same schemes.
I think one thing that really is interesting about this movie is that the voice actor for Top Cat did not get top billing on the DVD. It was Rob Schneider who plays the bad guy.
Right, and Danny Trejo was the dog.
Yes.
They're the 2 biggest stars in here, so they got top billing, and they weren't even the main characters.
So it was really different to see that that's how this progressed. And Rob Schneider, I have to give him credit, he was unrecognizable in voice as himself. He really, I would have never guessed it was him. If I hadn't been told it was him, I never would have known it was him.
Right.
So kudos to him for sounding like someone totally different and convincingly, and playing the character as a schmuck jerk that the character was.
Right. And like I said, it felt like there could have been something here. We didn't expect anything groundbreaking for Top Cat. And there are times where you don't expect something to do well, and it's like, oh my gosh, they actually did so much with this. But for Top Cat, they just, unfortunately for us at least, or for a lot of people, the viewers here, there just wasn't much there to go like, oh wow, I can't believe we didn't get this sooner or anything like that. There was some potential to an interesting story, but like I said, the conflict was almost non-existent. Top Cat could get by it easily. The only way that they stopped him was that they had a double pretend to be him committing crimes and send him to jail. Then that was it. You couldn't outsmart him with the technology, so you just framed him and that was it. That could have been actually a little interesting to see the dynamic of the old versus new, but they never used it. And what's even stranger is that they even had another movie after that. It wasn't a sequel, it was more of a prequel. They wanted to do an origin story of Top Cat called Top Cat Begins. It was an all CGI thing of how he had his gang and became Top Cat. I was like, but no one asked you to show us a backstory. I just figured he was Top Cat his whole life.
Let's piggyback on that success, Sarah. Let's do it.
Yes, the origin story we've all been waiting for.
What I really want to know during this movie was two things. One, how did these cats not age from late 50s to early 60s to the 2010s? How did these cats not age? They must have really used all their 9 lives,
right?
Because they weren't older at all. They looked exactly the same. They acted the same. They were doing the same thing.
Right?
It was like,
huh? You didn't adapt to anything.
Exactly. They were still living in the past in that stretch of alleyway, gated off. And they didn't want anything to change. And all he kept saying is, we gotta find a way to work this. We gotta find a way to work this. And it was like...
Yeah, it's like, you would kind of think they were trying to go live on the high life. Because look, all the technology and stuff, they could like hack and everything. Make them learn how to hack and take someone's credit card. And maybe they could start living in hotels and things and live the literally high life. But they never do anything with the concept of them interactive technology.
Right. And the second thing I want to know is how the police officer was still on the beat. Late 50s, early 60s, early 2000s.
And never got promoted.
This guy is still on the beat, and he's still hooping it, and he hasn't aged, and it's like, everybody should have thought about this when they made this movie.
Right. And he never got promoted until like the very end. It was like, okay, this guy patrols the same group of cats for decades, and you don't think, hey, shouldn't you be doing something else? We're only paying you this much. You might as well get a different job.
It just, yeah. I mean, I guess for the people who were fans of this series and loved it, it was a great thing to do for them. And it's fantastic that the studio and the creators and those who own the intellectual property decided to give them a gift.
Yeah,
so for that, I'm really, really excited that they got to have something made for a character in a show that they love. Right. That's always great. And
it's kind of like, it almost reminds you of Johnny Bravo Goes to Bollywood.
Which we haven't done yet, but we got to do. Jiggy, jiggy.
Right? And with that was the same thing where a show that was made here was way more popular, had a huge fan base in another country. Well, in this case, it was India. And they decided they wanted to do a movie where he goes to that country because they love the character so much. It was almost in the same vein with Top Cat. This country loves Top Cat so much they wanted to make a movie and get the rights to do a movie for this character they love. They didn't have him go to Mexico, but they wanted to do something because there was such a love for this character there even after all these years. So in the same vein, you can understand.
Right.
You just kind of wish they had done more. But I guess the point was that they wanted to keep Top Cat, even no matter what his surroundings were, he was going to be Top Cat and the friends were going to be the same. Personalities were the same. No one had any brain cells after a while. So I guess they wanted to make sure they stayed the same no matter what.
So if you have either seen the series somehow or you have seen this movie, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you are a fan, let us know what about this particular series makes you loyal and makes you love it the way that you do.
Right. And be sure to like, subscribe, notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and more to pause videos.
Absolutely. And if you want to see it, check out your local dollar store. It's probably still there.
Okay. So thank you. With that, thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment. Okay.
Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day. Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.